I'm Whitney Ward. We want to start with weather tonight. We are seeing dangerously hot temperatures across the inland Northwest. Our chief meteorologist, Jeremy Legoo, is joining us right now. Jeremy, what do we need to know? I think you actually were just verifying that we actually have beat records for today.
Yeah, I actually was just chatting with the National Weather Service because sometimes the number you see isn't actually the real temperature. The way this breaks down is that we record temperatures in Celsius and then we translate them to Fahrenheit. I know, it sounds confusing, but there's a lot that goes into the reason we do that. But right now, in Spokane, how about this number for you? You ready? Is anyone ready? 101 degrees here in town, and that officially makes this a record high temperature for the day. We have tied the record, and it's not just us, it's down in Lewiston as well. 107 degrees was their high, now down to 106, and it's likely we squeeze out another degree, maybe even 2 this evening. But look out at Central Washington, 109. You're at 97 up in Sandpoint, 101 in Coeur d'Alene, 102 in Deer Park. It is a scorcher of an afternoon, and it's nothing but sunshine. But look what's going on off to the north and out to the east. It's more thunderstorm activity. Unfortunately, we just don't get it, and we stay dry the next couple of days. In fact, we're talking high fire danger across the region the next few days because of how hot we are. All through the weekend, it's temperatures up in the triple digits with nothing but sunshine. But that increased fire danger, we'll talk that coming up in just a couple minutes.
All right, Jeremy, thank you very much. In the meantime, a number of city organizations have teamed up to send a letter to Spokane city leaders saying more needs to be done to protect people during this intense heat wave. 15 individuals and advocacy groups have now asked for 4 key solutions. One is to activate cooling centers whenever the National Weather Service forecast will be 85 degrees or higher for 2 or more consecutive days. The second request is to allocate additional emergency funding to the Spokane Fire Department anytime temperatures reach 95 or higher. They're also asking that STA bus service become free when those emergency shelters are activated, and that all shelters provide food and drinking water. This letter cited last summer's heat dome, where more than 100 people died in Washington from heat-related illnesses. And we did reach out to the city for comment, and in a statement, city leaders said, quote, SFD has received a total of 9 calls for service related to the heat since Monday. They say that is in the normal range. While we expect that to increase over the next 48 hours as temperatures are sustained and rise, they say we are not seeing significant increases at this time. They also said they appreciate people taking advantage of these city resources during this current heat wave. And WashDOT is on notice. The Spokane City Fire Marshal says the cooling tent, which was set up on WashDOT's property near I-90 and Freya, is illegal. He sent a letter to WashDOT requesting they take it down. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley is joining us now live from the homeless camp there on that property to explain the latest in this saga. Amanda?
Well, this cooling tent went up on Wednesday, and on the same day, this letter went out from the City of Spokane's Fire Marshal. Sorry, excuse the wind here. And it was a letter sent to WashDOT, and it says the tent is an illegal structure, but since WashDOT is the property owner, it is responsible for removing this tent or getting the proper permits. Now, Jules Helping Hands set up the tent. It has fans, misters, and just last night they added air conditioners. WashDOT is aware of the cooling tent, and while the agency does not allow camping on its land, fire officials say they don't want someone to have a medical emergency on their property. The Spokane Fire Marshal, Lance Dahl, told me temporary structures such as tents with sides and they measure at least 400 square feet require a permit. The cooling tent is almost 2,000 square feet, and Jules Helping Hands does not have a permit for it. Now, City Council President Brian Beggs told me he notified City Council members that the cooling tent was going up at the request of the fire chief. Now, he says he's just trying to untangle the bureaucratic issues that have popped up as a result.
My goal is to solve the bureaucratic issues so that we can get to the substance of it. And in the meantime, the tent will still provide cooling services to the people who need it, which is great because we don't want to have people with health issues due to the heat if possible. So I'm glad that's happening.
Now, WashDOT and the Department of Commerce just released a joint statement this afternoon responding to the fire marshal's letter, saying they will not take action to remove the cooling center during this extreme weather. In the meantime, WashDOT and the Department of Commerce say it will continue to review other local proposals submitted last week from the city and allow nonprofit organizations to continue helping individuals in need. Now, the letter from the fire marshal says WashDOT has to remove the tent by 9 a.m. on Monday. If not, WashDOT will get a civil infraction with a fine of $536 for every day the tent is left up. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
All right, Amanda, thank you very much. And as the heat continues through the weekend, several cooling centers do remain open across Spokane. If you need help getting to one of those centers, STA is making it a little bit easier. STA is now offering free rides if you're unable to afford that bus fare. All you have to do is tell the driver you're going to a cooling center and cannot pay the normal $2 fare. The Central, which is the downtown location, as well as the Shadle Park, Liberty Park, and Hilliard libraries will all be open through Sunday with extended hours to provide an air-conditioned space for anyone to come in and cool off. Those libraries will be open each day until 8 p.m. In the meantime, the STA transportation does remain critical for one of our most vulnerable populations, which is our seniors. These extremely hot temperatures could lead to heat stroke if proper care isn't taken. According to the CDC, older adults simply do not adjust as well to temperature changes. They're more likely to have a chronic medical condition that changes the normal body's response to warm temperatures. Also, if they're on certain medications, it can affect the body's ability to control sweat. KREM 2 spoke with Matt Fleming, who has 20 years or more of experience in the medical field and has seen firsthand the effects of heat stroke. He's offering some tips to stay hydrated, shut your blinds, don't use your oven inside, and freeze items like socks, sheets, and washcloths.
I think using cooling cloths, keeping them by your chair, put them in a cooler with some ice. Put them on your neck, your elbows, your wrists, your knees, where your pulse points are, where the doctor takes your pulse when you go to the doctor. If you cool those areas, your body will enjoy that effect, that cooling effect, much longer.
He adds it is important to get ahead of things by recognizing the signs of heat-related illness. So things like muscle cramps, dizziness, being tired excessively, having a headache can also be symptoms of heat exhaustion. So if these symptoms are not treated, they can then advance to heat stroke. So of course, again, getting ahead of it and staying ahead of it is important. And when someone stops sweating, that is a really, truly scary sign that they need to get to the hospital and need to seek medical attention. All right, we want to turn to some breaking news now here just in the last 15 or so minutes. Spokane Regional Health District now reporting its first case of monkeypox. It's a presumptive case in an adult here in Spokane County after testing was done on that person earlier today. However, the health district says the patient was most likely exposed outside of Washington state. Right now, SRHD is conducting contact tracing to identify anyone who may have had close contact with that patient. The department says the need for vaccines is now being evaluated on a case-by-case basis. We also have new video tonight of a shocking drive-by shooting last month where a Spokane police officer was hit. Today, Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie Knezevich held a press conference showing that video, saying more needs to be done to stop violent crime in our community. Mark Hanrahan is joining us now to break down that new video and what Sheriff Knezevich had to say. Mark.
Good afternoon, Whitney. The video is just stunning to watch right here. Police say it was recorded by one of the suspects themselves. Investigators found it on a cell phone after they arrested the two suspected gang members. Now, keep in mind, the Spokane County Sheriff's Office is now investigating since an SPD officer was shot. Knezevich released it today to show the public the violence unfolding on our streets and as a way to push elected officials to enact stricter policies to keep dangerous criminals behind bars. So take a look. This is the video the sheriff released earlier today. You can see both suspects are in the car carrying what appears to be a gun. One of them has part of their face covered. At one point, the suspects spot a Spokane police car and they start chasing it. Later on in the video, you can hear several gunshots. Spokane police officer Chris Honecker suffered gunshot wounds to his leg and to his head, but he has since been released from the hospital and is said to be doing okay. The suspects, Isaac Ott and Ray Winecoop, crashed their car a short time later and were ultimately arrested. They are now facing several felony charges, including attempted first-degree murder, assault, and unlawful possession of a firearm. Today, Sheriff Knezevich said more needs to be done to protect law enforcement, and he said that elected officials at the local and state level need to change policies to keep people like Ott and Winecoop off the streets.
Because of bad policy, we don't hold people accountable. This is a policy issue. This is not a police issue because, again, we'll put them in prison all day long. If you keep letting them out, what have you taught them? You can get away with this. No one will hold us accountable.
Sheriff Knezevich said Ott and Wynkoop deliberately targeted police as a way to gain street cred. What's more, they're also accused of shooting at 2 different houses before they shot at police. And in newly released court documents, during a phone call from the Spokane County Jail, Wynkoop told someone, quote, "If you can get me out, I can do it again." And that while talking about the shooting, described himself as, quote, "a legend." Both suspects are believed to be gang members. They're both being held in jail on $2 million bond, and they're scheduled to be arraigned on August 9th. Whitney?
All right, thank you very much, Mark. And in another top story tonight, a Spokane Valley firefighter is in the ICU after suffering cardiac arrest while he was off duty. Firefighter Dan Patterson went for a run after his 24-hour shift. Towards the end of the run, he said he wasn't feeling well and headed back to the fire station. He then suffered from cardiac arrest right there on the front steps of the building. Fellow crew members rushed out to help him, started CPR. He was then transported to Sacred Heart, where he continues to recover tonight. But a GoFundMe has been set up for Dan in hopes that they can raise some money to help with his medical expenses. That GoFundMe can be found on our website. Just go to KREM.com. Looking ahead now, 3 members of a white nationalist group are scheduled to appear in court this coming Monday. One suspect is from Illinois, another from Utah, and another from Colorado. They were all arrested along with 29 others on a charge that they were planning a potentially violent riot at a pride celebration in Coeur d'Alene last month. After Monday, the next court date will be scheduled then for August 22nd, with 5 other suspects appearing in court. Coming up after the break, our chief meteorologist Jeremy Legoo is back, and he's breaking down just what we can expect from this year's wildfire season. Don't go anywhere. KREM 2 News continues right after this.